in European countries, the problem is, I think, especially in English-speaking countries, Europe is counted as the England, France, and Germany, but it doesn't account lots of other countries. And Europe is very, very diverse, and with their opinion as well. And I can say straight away, there is lots of European countries which doesn't agree with many things, which as well you and other people not agree. And for example, Visegrad 4 countries, they are quite against the lefties and communism and anything like that. So they doesn't like what's going like supporting the lefty side and supporting the extremes in the west part of the Europe. And as well economically they are different than they constantly growing since 90s, since they managed to get rid of it communism. And probably that is the main reason why their mentality is slightly different on this opinion, because they actually experience this issue themselves, and because of that they doesn't want to have anything similar again. So the mentality is different. And for example, Poland have massive investment in their army, where now land forces are stronger than France, Britain, and Germany combined. Like they have more tanks, they have more artillery, and even including divisions. So it's not exactly like, I must say, it's not not the Europeans are assholes. And as well, including that is something when you mention about what happened post-revolution in the Iran. Again, we have a little bit more experience with that, and I must say this: Iran, because there is lots of culturally advanced and as well lots of people which are highly educated, is easy, but it will not take few years. It take probably a decade, if not more, to just a little bit catching up, because the problem is the whole economy and everything is done to the regime to deal with Russia, China, and certain countries. So they need to completely everything change. And even if you change private done privatization, and you need to change law to corresponding with that, because for example in Czechoslovakia, when after revolution privatization occur, and many companies go really well after that, but because law wasn't fully changed, even it was partially most of it was prepared, but it wasn't introduced fully, and jurisdiction system wasn't ready for it. It took time, and it was lots of privatization didn't go as well as you expected because of that. So this and Czechoslovakia was one of the most industrial country, and today is still one of the most industrial country, not just per capita in the world, but in Europe is the most industrial country. Even when Czech Republic, sorry, because even it's so small, and so that is one of the things which
Last
I.
point. Last point. Last point.
And as well, those countries, they might not highlight as such, but they supporting countries like Israel or Ukraine. Czech Republic was supporting Ukraine since 2000, early 2000s. That was, I don't know, you probably didn't hear, but there was operating FSB in the Czech and blow up some of the storages, because this was supporting after invasion of the Crimea weapons, and they do it in a different way. So it's slightly different when it's general public or general public knowledge, because they operate in different ways.
All right. Thank you.
No, thank you very much for your work. Thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting us. All right.
Okay,
All
we have
right.
3 more on the list. We have voted no more hands after this because you've been on for over 10 hours and you need a little rest. We're not letting you have the choice, actually. We will kick you out if we have to.
And I want to do the 2 hour.
Armin, you need
here.
food.
No,
I ate already. I do want to do 2 hours here every day.
we love you too, but we don't want to be responsible for your stroke and or heart attack. Okay, next is
Well, I'm gonna have a stroke if I don't get to stay here for 2 hours a day. That's okay.
just take a screenshot, everyone smile, and then you can lay
Um,
down, take a
no.
little.
Oh my god, I have some points that I want to make though. BT, so after people raise their hands is finished, I need to make a couple of points. So myself then.
Seeing you in the middle, Armin. I love it.
All right, so who's next?
Hello, everyone.
Oh, there, payment. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, actually, about the news, I believe that there are a lot of news in Instagram and also everywhere. But what I believe that you can actually get the right news is from Armin and Goldie and also Tusi TV. There is the place that actually you can get the right news, not the fake news. Because we have a lot of fake news, and we Iranian actually we are going to a lot of places, and they can actually confuse us. And about the security that I would like to advise, I noted here, is Islamic Republic of Iran actually trying to do a lot of phishing attack and XX attack, XXS attack. So that means that if you want to go to one link to another link, actually they can use your cookies. Cookies means your information. So be careful, especially about Armin and Goldie, because you actually you check this information, for example, the links and these kind of things. So be very careful about these links. And what I suggest is always keep your operation system, which is the Windows or Linux or whatever, updated, upgraded, and also make sure you open those links in private browser, because in that sense they cannot actually find your cookies or your information. And also one important thing, even though you're outside of Iran, you should use a VPN anyways, as I do that in Sweden. So make sure you're safe and your information is going to be safe. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Neyman.
Okay,
All right.
next we have Eric Davis.
Eric.
I'll be really brief. BT, 7 hours ago, you put up a video about the victims at the IRGC.
Oh.
For anyone unsure, it was the video that you may have seen if you've been watching Armin's live, but there is a song and it just shows different victims of the IRGC in kind of a compilation. I found it online somehow and posted it to the discussion group. Yeah, so it's in there. Okay.
Thank you, Eric.
Okay, finally we have Richard and then closing remarks.
Just a super quick question. This is primarily directed to Jeffrey. Given everything that's happened up to this point, I just want to know directly what your estimate is of a preemptive attack by the Islamic Republic against any target.
Jeffrey? What was the question again? I didn't hear it because it was cutting in and out. Is Jeffrey, you're here?
Hang on, sorry. Okay. No, the question was just what he estimated the probability was of a preemptive strike by the Islamic Republic.
Oh. Okay, Jeffrey is not here for some reason, but here, Jeffrey's here.
I would contend with the move of our THAAD interceptors from Okinawa to the Middle East, that percentage is going up. At least that's an indicator moving in the right direction, if that helps.
Yeah, that is helpful. Thank you.
I have 5 closing remarks, and if anybody wants to ask any questions about them, they could raise their hand to ask me questions regarding the remarks that I have. So that's one. Witkoff, the fact that Trump sent Witkoff to Israelis, to me, is a really good sign. Because, by the way, BT, if you need to go somewhere, it's okay. Like, if you no, okay. So no, I'm just joking. So no, I love you, and I was just wondering if I'm holding you for something you need to do. No,
No, Armin.
no, okay,
No. You're
okay,
trying to get
okay,
rid of
okay.
me so I don't get rid of you.
No. I was just wondering, like, no, okay. All right. So first point is, so guys, I don't know if you saw, but Witkoff was sent to Israel by Trump to talk to Israelis, and the whole point of that talk was to listen to the Israelis regarding the red lines for the negotiations, right? To me, I mean, we don't like Witkoff, but to me, if that suggests that Trump really was valuing the Israelis' positions regarding what not to accept as in the deal with the Islamic Republic. That was a big sign of Trump administration being mindful of Israelis, what their red lines are, what they're sensitive about, especially given that Witkoff says yes to things that the Iranian people and the Israeli people don't like. Making Witkoff listen to the Israelis before the talks with the IRGC was a really positive sign. To me, it suggests that Trump is very much moving on the what the isolationists call like the neocons or the pro-Israeli, like very much out of the isolationist camp and towards like very much on Israel's side, right? So remember, we were worried about Trump, especially when he was going to Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Qatar, and the plane that the Qataris gave Trump, and also all the major financial deals that Koff and what's his face, Jared Kushner have with the Arab countries around the Persian Gulf, the conflict of interest. We were very much worried about Trump moving, on a foreign policy wise, moving in a direction that would not be in line with what Iranians and Israeli want. But now we're saying that, I think, more and more we're saying that the United States is very much in line with what Israelis want, especially given that then my second point, which requires some explanation, because we now know that it was the Israelis that delayed the attack. It was the Israelis that convinced Trump to delay the attack. But the full story, apparently, is that Israelis had access to this information that we didn't know. And that the Islamic Republic was training and preparing for a mass killing of the Iranians way before early January. And they were training for this. So this was not something that just happened by surprise. And apparently, Israelis knew that the Islamic Republic is getting ready to do like a slaughter in the thousands of Iranians when it's needed, and they were like they were trained, like they did drills and training specifically to carry out such a high level of massacre.
So, do we have any
Yes,
info how they were going to excuse that?
by cutting down the internet and saying that it didn't happen, or that it was just terrorists doing that, like exactly what they did. Apparently, this was pre-planned, and apparently the Israelis gave this information to Trump. Okay, and I, so what I'm hearing again, right, from people is that when Trump, and there's some people disagree with this, but the take is that when Trump said that to the Islamic Republic, don't kill your people or else there's going to be consequences, he was talking about this type of an attack. Because then when the Islamic Republic killed like 20 or 30 people initially, a lot of people thought that, oh, this is what Trump was talking about. So here people are killed, so he should do something. But apparently, Trump was referring to the mass slaughter that he was told by the Israelis. And that's what he was referring to. And that's what he was trying to discourage the Islamic Republic from doing. And then when that happened, so people were expecting Trump to get involved when 20 and 30 people died, but then Trump in the, got basically started moving to take an action against the Islamic Republic once that higher scale of slaughter happened. But then the attack stopped because the Israelis convinced Trump to stop the attack, right? So he was making a move in response to the mass slaughter. But then the Israelis convinced Trump that the Islamic Republic is now ready for removal. And there's a really good potential here for us to do regime change. And whatever attack Trump was planning on doing was not good enough for regime change. So again, the calculations of Americans have changed completely based on the number of Iranian people that showed up, because the Americans didn't saw any way for regime change ever, because they don't have enough political capital for boots on the ground. They have enough military capital for boots on the ground in Iran, but they don't have enough political capital for boots on the ground in Iran. And there is no way for you to do regime change from bombing in the air. This is why the Islamic Republic was feeling secure, because the Islamic Republic always understands that, you know what, they will come, they will bomb, they will go, and I will survive, and it'll be fine. And every time they attack, maybe that's actually even in our benefit, because when people attack us, we get more people rally. Not the Iranian people will not rally around the flag, but at least within the supporters of the Islamic Republic, the division between them stops, and they will rally around the flag within the regime supporters. Not the Iranian people, but within regime supporters, we get some sort of rally around the flag. There is no rally around the flag when it comes to the Iranian people. Anybody who tells you that is full of shit. The Iranian people do not rally around the Islamic Republic flag when Israel or United States attacks. But there is some sort of an effect within the Islamic Republic forces itself. So this is why the Islamic Republic feels secure into doing mass slaughter on the Iranian people, because its understanding is that even if the world gets involved, what are they going to do? More sanctions, more bombing, some of us die, the Islamic Republic will continue. But I think they miscalculated this one, because Israel convinced that United States that this is a once in a lifetime opportunity for us to basically get rid of one of the four evils in the world. The four being the Islamic Republic, North Korea's government, China's government, and Russia's government. So 25% removal of the headache for Western power is very appealing. And given that we now have boots on the ground in the millions, which is the Iranian people, the calculation is that a regime change is possible. If we, given that Iranian people have shown their capacity to be mobilizing by this much, that means that if we remove the obstacles from their way, they could basically capture government institutions and buildings, and that will result in regime change, right? Israel always wanted regime change in Iran, because for Israel, this is an existential threat. At some point, the Islamic Republic is going to become nuclear. And if they become nuclear, and if their ballistic missiles get to 2,000, that would mean that they have a deterrence capability where it's always going to be difficult for Israel to make any other moves against the Islamic Republic, and the Islamic Republic will be able to keep supporting terrorists more October 7th against Israel indefinitely, for basically forever, right? So Israel cannot accept that, especially after they experience one October 7th. They are done with that, and there is no way for Israel to just be able to allow the Islamic Republic to just continue become nuclear, or become a force with their, force to be reckoned with, because of the number of ballistic missiles they have. So one way or another, and the only way to stop the Islamic Republic from achieving these two goals is for regime change. There is no way that you could come up with a version of the Islamic Republic where this will not happen. If the Islamic Republic exists, at some point they are going to get going to have nuclear weapon, or at some point they are going to, because it doesn't make any sense from the perspective of the Islamic Republic. You have to also understand that it doesn't make any sense not to do this, because you have lost your many of your deterrence capabilities, and you're basically like sitting there for Israelis to be able to come and do whatever they want with you. The only way for you to eventually survive is to demonstrate your deterrence capabilities, which is basically having nuclear weapons or getting to 2,000 ballistic missiles, right? And so basically, we're in a situation where Islamic Republic cannot accept Israel having the upper hand, so it needs these deterrent capabilities, and Israel cannot accept the Islamic Republic having these deterrent capabilities. One of them has to be defeated, right? You either have to get Israel to just accept that they're going to accept terrorism and attacks on their land forever and ever and ever, or the Islamic Republic has to go regime change. There's no other solution. This is the Israel's calculation, but for America's calculation, this is more of an Israeli problem than an American problem. America has it is still an American problem, but not to the point, not in the same way that it is for Israel. For America, the Islamic Republic is a problem because they are a point of leverage for Russia and China, and it's a way to keep poking at America whenever you need to make sure that some of America's military resources are focused in the Middle East. But imagine if the Islamic Republic was not such a threat to Americans' allies in the Middle East, and also to all of these oil and gas coming from one of the most oil and gas rich part of the planet. Imagine if the Islamic Republic was not a problem. There are so many military assets that are now focused in the Middle East that could be focused in the Pacific, where the United States probably would prefer them to be, right? The United States, yeah, they would be freed up. That's like a lot of military assets. So this is what the America First isolationists don't understand, that you're wasting so much money in the Middle East because of the Islamic Republic being there. American taxpayer is forced to spend so much maintaining stability there to keep the energy market stable because of the Islamic Republic. And any American who says that this has nothing to do with us, I'm pretty sure a destable energy market, you will be experiencing that in the price of everything in the United States. Everything, the price of everything is dependent on the price of oil and gas. So this is very much an America First policy to stabilize the Middle East. And right now, it's so much more expensive for America to stabilize the Middle East right now compared to the price of getting rid of the Islamic Republic. Is very much America first, right? Very much America first. So now that the Israelis have convinced the Americans that this is like, okay, let's hold on to this attack and do something a lot more significant, the Americans are now preparing for something much bigger. The preparation for this war takes longer than a lot of people were hoping for, because Americans cannot have less tolerance for losing soldiers. Israelis have more tolerance because Israelis are fighting for their survival. So they understand the cost of survival. So they understand that this is the cost of war. But for American citizens, this is not for America's survival, right? So why should our soldiers die when America is pretty much safe? Like, okay, yeah, this is good for our markets. This is good for stability. This is good for trade, maybe, but we're not. America is not going to go anywhere. So America, when they want to get into war, to be again, America is a democracy, so you have to make sure you don't pay a huge political price for going into war. So you have to, when you go and when you want to do war at this scale, the preparations need to be long enough and to the degree where you could minimize the cost to American assets and lives of their soldier to the minimum, preferably to zero, right? So you want to make sure that you don't have to come and explain to Americans why some of our soldiers had to die. Preferably, if you could show that we did this, nobody died, that would be amazing, right? So, and remember, this is, we have so many examples of this, like during the first Persian Gulf, with the Persian Gulf War, when Saddam invaded Kuwait. I think it took them 5 months of preparation to eventually attack Saddam and liberate Kuwait. I think it took 5 months, right? For attacking Afghanistan, it took a couple of months. For attacking Saddam again, the second time, it took more than a month. For attacking Panama, it took more than a month. Yeah, so these things take time. And honestly, right now we're in a situation where the more time it takes, the worse it is for the Islamic Republic. Usually it's the other way around. Usually the Islamic Republic is buying time because they're recovering, they're licking their wounds, and negotiations are a way for them to recover and build their missiles and their proxies. But this time, the Islamic Republic is suffocating, and it's the Americans who are preparing. So negotiations mean more preparation for America and more suffocating by the Islamic Republic and more division within the Islamic Republic and more isolation of the Islamic Republic. So buying time this time is working in the favor of Americans. And this is why the Islamic Republic might actually attack Israel and start the war early, because they're noticing that the more they wait, the more assets, the more military assets are being gathered around their borders. So they might actually, like, if the war is coming, we might as well start early. I saw somebody raise their hand regarding this. Shauna, I think was right.
Yeah, I had a question, and then I did put Shauna on the list as well. You're talking about Witkoff heading over and getting information from Israel in regard to their terms. How about what kind of, maybe this is more for Jeffrey, but Armin, he's likely also going over there to see what type of intel that they've gathered, that he's not just picking up the phone and getting information on, which either way suggests movement soon. What could expedite, what information could he potentially receive that can expedite an attack?
Yeah, I think this is a good Jeffrey question. Jeffrey. Yeah.
Well, again, the environment is very fluid and changing. So one of the things that Israeli intelligence, I would contend, gives us is intel on the proxy forces the Mullah regime uses as part and parcel of their deterrence package, right? So, like the House of Saud, what were they concerned about? They're concerned about like proxies doing things like swarm drone attacks against their refineries and that kind of stuff, like what happened in 2019. There's also reasons why the Israelis hit certain targets in Lebanon in the past week or so. Yeah, that definitely helped. That probably, almost assuredly, if Israel gives Witkoff their up-to-date intelligence on the proxy forces disposition and where they're at, that probably would help. Not the least of which is you have a lot of. I see Shauna wants to say something. Sorry, go ahead. You can say.
No.
That's
That's not why I'm making faces. Finish your thought, Jeffrey. I was making faces because my cat is pawing at me with her claws.
So it probably again would be one of the larger pieces of intelligence that Israel could provide to us via Witkoff or any other member of the administration would be disposition of proxy forces both in the region and abroad. You had mentioned one about how there are a lot of the assets that have been pre-placed here within the United States. That's the reason why we're doing things like ICE and the worst first and all that. You know, the previous administration, because of its lack of border security, allowed tens of thousands of assets, including members who are openly members of Hezbollah, Hamas, intelligence assets from the Chinese Communist Party, Putin's criminalized counterintelligence state, Mullah regime, placed themselves here. So that's one of the things we're worried about. You know, that's one of the things we have to guard against. At least that would be my best guess anyway.
Is it like my understanding is that Israelis have so much more better information regarding Iran than Americans because they've been involved there. And also, the best information that you could get is the information while actively doing operations. So, because Israelis have been in the field, and also when it comes to attacks on the Islamic Republic, no matter how much information Americans have gathered on themselves, it's not going to be comparable to the information that Israeli have because they already have done attacks on, on Iranian inside, well, they were on Iranian airspace. So that's why the Americans need to talk to the Israelis regarding all the information they gathered, right? Is that correct?
Do we have any reason to believe that Israel may have more or different intel on China than we do? Is that a possibility?
All actors have their own intelligence assessments on things, and they don't share everything with even their allies for good reason. The idea that they probably have some things that we know that we don't know, and we have things that they don't know, that's probably a fair bet. As far as arming, 100%, like, especially when it comes to proxy forces, not that, US intelligence is not very good, it is. I'm saying because of the experience and the focused nature and operational experience that Israel has, because they've been dealing with this existential threat forever. I mean, they have like a unique insight on it, don't they? Same with Saudi intelligence, for that matter, particularly when it comes to Mullah's proxies targeting their refineries. Yeah, that would be something that would definitely help.
Okay,
Next,
Shauna, you
we
want?
have Shauna. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I just have a kind of a can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I just have a question. Why do you think Trump has changed his position so much from his first term to his second term? I mean, as far as geopolitics go, in many ways, wildly different in the way he's responding to different things.